Hello everybody, Mr. Pilgrim here coming at you with the second video in our Platinum Trophy Guide for the Order 1886. In the first video we covered the first 3 chapters, I know kind of short, but we go over basically how to get more than half of the trophies. The other half will just come through playing the game. Pretty much, as long as you follow these guides, you will get the Platinum Trophy, no problem. So in Chapter 4, you'll have to go through the tunnel system. There will be a couple of fights. You're mainly going to be using your pistol, so go for those headshots if you haven't already done it, or for the pistol kills, either way. But once you make it here into the actual Whitechapel Hospital, you're just going to follow the path I take, and we will find the first collectible, and it'll be up here on this desk.
The Lycans weren't the only ones to run rampant here.
It'll be this little document right here. Like always, do flip these over. And then we'll move on now to a little bit later in the stage. It'll be after a critical fight. Alright, so once you do the battle, you'll end up here in the infirmary ward. And there's going to be 2 collectibles we can get here in this first area. Then 2 more just a little off to the side. So your first one is going to be photo. Like always, just flip these over. Then from here, we're actually going to head into this little middle section. Come here to the right, and you'll see the first document, or second collectible, I should say.
The Agamemnon shipping manifest. All the cargo is destined for the Americas.
And then from here, there's actually going to be 2 more to grab before the chapter's over. It'll be in this back room right here. You'll have a lock-picking little thing. And just like that, it's done. And in this room will be 2 phonographs, phonoglyphs, cylinders. First one will be right here. Next one will be in this chest. Pretty simple. Now we're going to be moving on to Chapter 5. To do that, you basically just have to search the area and interact with enough objects, and we'll eventually be on our way. Alright, so in Chapter 5, you'll have to you'll split off with Marquis, or Lafayette, and you'll head off to the right, and then there'll be a small little cutscene, and then what you're supposed to do is head to that left little red panel, but if you come over here to the right, we will find the first collectible of Chapter 5. Looks like a music box or something, a grinder, I'm not entirely sure. But now we're going to be moving on to the next one. Like I said, for most of these collectibles and most of the mission layouts, they're pretty straightforward. Cockpit and go on a solo mission, you'll have these guards here. You'll basically want to be going to the right, but instead if you veer off here to the left, you'll have the next collectible that we can get in the game. And now we can move on from here. Alright, so after the last section, you'll have to take out 2 enemies, and then you'll eventually follow the path and see this golden, looks like kind of a boiler, and just to the left of that, you'll find the next collectible in a room on the side. Be another newspaper. Then we're going to move to when we're in the Armory with Sir Percival, so I'll see you there. Alright, one thing I will talk about is during the sniper scene, you'll get the kill for the sniper, then you'll have this new pistol to pick up. I definitely recommend switching to it. Then from here, if you actually head back downstairs, there's going to be one of the few times you'll have a unique enemy, and that'll be not this shotgun dude here, but there'll be a specific night shotgun who will show up. Come on, where is it? There we go. You'll also want to use this shotgun, of course, but there will be a knight who will sometimes show up. And he has the shotgun in question. But I figured I'd just mention that. Sometimes I don't think if it's always guaranteed that he is in a knight suit, but he'll be heavily armed and he'll sometimes just rush right at you. So just keep that in mind. I do believe he does drop this specific shotgun, so I'll just keep that note aside. But now we're actually going to move on to the armory. Alright, so after a small little cutscene, you'll end up coming to the armory room. You'll notice the first collectible that you can find. Here you'll have a small little mini game to do, and then the second collectible will be in this back room.
Company rats fleeing their sinking ship. Cowards.
And it'll be back here, and it'll be this little document.
The quartermaster has stopped the ship.
As of now, you already know the main thing. Just flip them over. And then there'll be one last collectible and chapter 5, and then there's not going to be anything for chapter 6, 7, or 8, but we will talk about chapter 8, so don't worry about that. So as of now, you can just pick whatever weapon that you want. I stick with the main tried and true stuff, but I will see you once we're now at the next part to get the last collectible in chapter 5. Alright, so the last collectible in chapter 5 is going to be after the giant kitchen fight. There'll be a little interactive cutscene with Sir Percival. The debris will fall down and block your path, or block his path so he can't join you. You'll enter the little hallway, and on the right you'll find this picture of two chefs. Look like very distinguished men. And then that'll be the last collectible in chapter 5. So I'll see you in chapter 8 to talk about 2 specific trophies in general, and then we'll move on to chapter 9 for the collectibles. Alright, now once you're here in chapter 8, there's going to be 2 times that you can basically use science weapons, which are going to be the main thing that we're going to be talking about, as this will get you another 2 trophies during this chapter. First time is at the very start. You will have the arc gun. And then we'll move on to a little bit later on in the chapter. You'll know it's a very specific scene. You'll like end up on some high ground with a giant science cannon, and I'll go over more in detail when we're there, as that'll be the better option for earning the next 2 trophies. Alright, so after you go off solo and then eventually take out the dude on the trolley, you'll eventually have this unique science cannon. And what you're going to want to do is end up taking out 3 enemies with a single attack. There'll be a couple of times that you'll get it. You'll have infinite ammo for this, so if you don't get it, you can always just restart.
Please remain clear of the east end of Westminster Bridge. We are witnessing heavy artillery fire at the moment.
As you'll see like that. And then the next trophy that you're going to want to get is just to get 40 kills with the weapon. So if you don't feel like you aren't going to get enough, you can just do a couple of shots and then restart the checkpoint, and then continue until you get both trophies. So now we're going to be moving on to chapter 9, and then we'll pick up on getting the collectibles. Alright, so at the start of chapter 9, you'll have to move a giant wooden beam, and just to our right will be the first collectible of chapter 9. The next one is close by, but we're going to have to push a giant cart right in front of us, and I will be skipping to once we do that. Alright, so right after you push the cart, you'll want to come back to the left through this side tunnel, and you'll find this chest here that you can open. And we'll get our next cylinder. The next collectible will be outside right after we push another cart, just to make it easier, so I'm going to skip to that now. Alright, so after you push the second cart by moving the switch, you'll be able to come over here off to the left, and you'll be able to find the next interactable object, which will be this wooden little hammer. Now going to be moving on to the next collectible, which will be just a bit forward. You'll end up in a unique kind of building. Alright, so once you make it into the foundry, the first of the next 3 collectibles that we'll be getting will be right here, just on the table. It'll be an image.
Taking a foothold on the new continent.
Like always, we want to flip it over. The next collectible will be just on the other side of that door. You'll have to do a small puzzle in this room to get over there, but once we get there, we'll get the next collectible. Alright, so once you make it to the other side, you'll find the cylinder right here. You'll open up the door for our friend. And you'll head out the door.
Over here. On my count of 3. 1, 2.
Now eventually you'll actually end up outside. I forgot there's this little room that you'll have to fight in, but the next collectible will be once you get outside. Alright, so right after that room you'll have a quick gunfight, and just outside here we'll find the next collectible, and it'll be this newspaper.
They'll never understand.
Now we'll be moving on to the next collectible. Alright, so after a cutscene you'll enter a building, and you'll want to come up to the 2nd floor, and you will find the next collectible here in the first building.
It's been a while since my last journey to East India.
Then from here we're going to actually go to the next 2 collectibles, which will be just across in the next building. So you'll come in here, and then you'll come right into this little office, and you'll have this next little
Latest ship in the company's fleet.
boat ship thing that you can look over. Looks pretty cool. And then from here actually we're going to be heading downstairs. Alright, so in the same building that you have that small little cutscene about the cargo, you'll have to come here, come down over here, do a little lock picking.
There are too many guards present. Nothing we haven't encountered before. It would be safer to call for reinforcements. Not yet. Not until we locate the ship. And once we find it, what are your orders? We will deal with it.
And we'll find the next collectible at the back of this room.
We must remain cautious. Yes, Rodney.
And now we're going to move on to the next collectible. Alright, now during this next section you'll have the next weapon that you can get. It'll be when you're up top here. There'll be a very specific guy over here with the detonator, as you've just seen. Come on. This weapon is very unique, as what you can do is you can lob grenades.
Sniper subdued.
Like always, you'll just end up wanting to get at least 1 kill with each weapon.
I believe we can reach the other side from below.
I'm being pinned down.
This lift should get us where we go.
And then from here, you're going to, like always, move on to the actual collectible. I figured I'd just throw this in, as it's one of the only few times you actually get to see and use this weapon, so do keep that in mind. So once you enter this
Nothing strange
munitions
about it.
room,
The company exports munitions around the globe.
you'll want to come immediately to the left here. And you'll find this document here called the Greater Union. And then from here, the next collectible that we can find in this room is going to be upstairs on the 2nd floor. It's going to be this photo. Like always, flip it over just to make sure. Now the next 2 collectibles will be in the giant warehouse room. And then that will be the last 2 collectibles for Chapter 9. There's not going to be any collectibles in Chapter 10. So don't worry about that, and I will see you once we make it to chapter 11.
Crates we are looking for.
Alright, so once you make it to the warehouse, the last two collectibles that we're going to get in this video, even though I know I just said we're going to go to chapter 11. Chapter 11 is going to be when we start the third video. Would probably going to be the last video. Like always, flip it over. And then the last collectible that we will get is just on the opposite side. If I can run. You'll come to this little bench and you'll find this light bulb. Looks pretty unique here. Once you've done that, it can be done. Now I'll try and go over the objective of this area. As you'll see, you'll find these specific containers with the red symbols here. And that's what you're going to do until you find the secret little thing. You'll have to find a couple of them, I believe, or so many. But this is going to be the end of the second video. Hopefully this guide has been helpful and informative of everything to do while you're playing through the game. Hopefully you can just pause and, pick up where the next things are. But anyways, I will see you all in the third video.